So there's this really interesting lawsuit that caught my eye recently. Brandy Melville suing Shein.
Hmm.
And it's not just about using photos, right? Part of the claim seems to be that Shein's marketplace is making it easier to sell these gray market goods.
Yeah, that's a layer that adds a lot of complexity. It's a fascinating area.
Absolutely. So if you're listening and you run a brand, or maybe you're involved in supply chains, or honestly, if you're just curious about how IP rights actually work or sometimes don't work in this huge global online world,
Right.
this is really important stuff. So today we want to kind of cut through the jargon. We're going to unpack what gray market goods really are, why they're such a unique IP headache, and maybe most importantly, what practical things brands can actually do about them. Because
Yeah.
it's definitely a legally gray zone.
It really is. And maybe the best place to start is the definition, because it often surprises people.
Yeah.
Gray market goods are, well, they're legitimate. They are genuine branded product.
Real stuff.
100% authentic. Made by or for the actual brand owner. The whole issue, the entire problem, is about the journey they take.
Okay.
They get sold through channels the brand hasn't authorized. Often it's about dodging regional price differences, arbitrage.
Buying low, selling high somewhere else.
Exactly. Or bypassing official warranties, or maybe quality checks specific to a certain country.
And that distinction right there, that's so key. Because if you buy a gray market camera, say you're getting a real Canon or Sony,
Correct.
it's not a fake, it's not a knockoff, which is why I guess the usual customs approach for spotting fakes just doesn't work here.
Precisely. It sails right through because it is the genuine article, technically, that forces brands into much trickier legal battles, usually civil ones.
So just to make it super clear, maybe contrast that with counterfeits.
Sure. Counterfeits are easy. Legally speaking, they're fakes. Pure fraud.
Right. Fake logos, fake packaging.
Exactly. Designed purely to trick you. The quality is almost always terrible. They're universally illegal, violate trademarks, copyrights, patents. The works.
And often dangerous too, right? Fake electronics, fake makeup.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Health and safety risks are common. So prosecuting counterfeits is, relatively speaking, straightforward. It's a clear crime. But gray market, the product is real.
Yeah.
Yet its sale through the wrong channels can still seriously damage the brand. It messes with their market control, their reputation, and crucially, the promise they make to you, the consumer, when you buy their product.
Okay, so let's dig into that IP problem. If the item is genuine, why is selling it without permission an IP infringement? Why does the brand get to complain if I found a real product, maybe just a bit cheaper?
Well, it's not really about the consumer getting a deal, per se. It's about the foundation of trademark law. Brands use trademarks, their IP, to guarantee consistency, quality, and, the whole experience around their product. Gray market sales disrupt that control. They erode the brand's core value proposition, which is often built on trust and reliability. The key legal idea here, the one courts look at, is material differences.
Material differences. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Because the product might look identical, same camera, same software box. So what counts as a material difference that a court would actually care about?
Think about the whole package, not just the physical item. It's about the context, the promise tied to that brand name. So a material difference could be, say, the packaging itself.
How so?
Maybe it's missing safety warnings required in your country, but not where it was originally meant to be sold. Or the manual's in the wrong language, making it useless for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Or, and this is a big one, differences in warranty support. The gray market item might come with no valid warranty in your region or no access to customer service.
Right. So you buy it cheaper, but if it breaks.
You're potentially on your own. Think about regulated stuff like fancy electronics or even pharmaceuticals. A device made for the EU market might be authentic, but sold gray market in the US. It might lack US safety certification.
Or required software features.
Exactly. Or even slight formulation differences tailored for a specific region's regulations. These things matter. They confuse consumers, and when the product doesn't meet expectations or causes problems, who gets blamed?
The brand, even though they didn't authorize that specific sale.
Precisely. It damages the brand's reputation.
So it's less about the item being fake and more about it being sort of out of place, not meeting the expectations for this market. Is that why U.S. courts focus so much on this material differences idea?
That's the core of it in the U.S., yes. If the gray market goods are different in a way that's likely to mislead you, the consumer, about the support, the standards, the whole package you're getting,
then the brand has a case.
A pretty strong basis for a trademark infringement claim, usually. And this ties back to that arbitrage point, too. Brands set different prices globally for lots of reasons. R&D costs, local market conditions, regulatory hurdles.
Right.
Gray marketers exploit that. Buy cheap in Asia, sell higher in Europe or the U.S. These material differences arguments are one way ahead. Brands try to fight back and maintain control over their global pricing strategy.
Mm.
If the European version has features the Asian one doesn't, it helps justify the price difference and potentially block the gray import.
You mentioned the U.S. standard. How does this play out globally? I imagine it gets even messier across borders.
Oh, absolutely. This is where a lot of brands run into trouble. It comes down to a legal concept called the doctrine of exhaustion. Think of it as, when does the brand lose control over resale?
Okay.
The U.S., with its material difference focus, is relatively brand-friendly, but many other big markets use what's called national exhaustion, or sometimes even international exhaustion.
International exhaustion, what does that mean?
Basically, under that doctrine, once a brand owner sells a genuine product anywhere in the world, poof, their IP right to control its resale might be considered exhausted globally.
Wow. So if they sell it legally in country A, someone can buy it there and legally resell it in country B, even if the brand didn't want that.
In some jurisdictions operating under international exhaustion, yes, that can be the outcome. It makes stopping gray market imports incredibly difficult because the product's authenticity trumps the brand's control over the distribution channel after that first sale.
So that's why you hear about needing trademark strategies in manufacturing locations, too, to stop it at the source.
Exactly. You have to try and prevent the diversion before it leaves the first country. Because once it's out there, under certain legal systems, your hands might be tied.
Okay, so it's clear this is a real problem for brands' strategy, reputation, consumer trust, but actually stopping it sounds really, really hard. What are the main roadblocks they face?
Yeah, the global system creates some big hurdles. First, like we touched on, is limited customs authority.
Right, they're looking for fakes.
They're great at spotting obvious counterfeits. But a customs officer isn't usually trained or legally empowered to seize a box of genuine, say, Adidas shoes just because they were maybe intended for the Asian market but landed in Germany.
They don't want to stop legitimate commerce.
Exactly. It's tricky. Second big challenge, lack of transparency. Tracing where these goods leak from is tough.
How so?
It's rarely just one rogue distributor. Often it's a complex web. Multiple resellers, maybe shell companies, diverting goods somewhere along the supply chain. Was it the factory? A logistics partner? A big distributor breaking their contract? Investigating that is incredibly difficult and expensive.
And I guess that leads straight into the third problem, online marketplaces.
Definitely. The sheer scale of platforms like Amazon, eBay, or even Shein's marketplace now, they become, often unintentionally, major channels for gray goods.
Because anyone can list anything, basically.
Pretty much. Listing tools are often automated. A seller can upload thousands of products almost instantly. The platforms themselves might not even know these are gray market sales until the brand owner flags it using very specific procedures. They're not necessarily facilitating it actively, but the volume makes them passive enablers.
Okay, I have to jump in here, though. Let's talk about that arbitrage thing again. Buying cheap, selling high. Isn't it sometimes true that brands use regional pricing that feels, well, like gouging to consumers?
That's a fair point and a critical one.
Are brands fighting just the gray market, or are they also fighting the demand created by their own pricing structures?
That leads directly to the fourth roadblock, consumer perception. You hit the nail on the head. Because the goods are genuine, the public often thinks, why shouldn't I get a deal? Why should the brand dictate where I buy a real product and how much I pay?
Yeah, I can see that argument.
So, public sympathy for the brand cracking down, generally pretty low. This forces the brand's messaging to focus entirely on those material differences. The lost warranty, the potential safety issue, the lack of compliance, rather than just complaining about the price difference. It complicates their narrative significantly.
It sounds like a constant battle, almost like playing whack-a-mole. Okay, so let's pivot. If I'm running a brand, maybe small, maybe large, and I want to get a handle on this, what can I actually do? What are the practical solutions?
Right, the strategies need to be multi-layered. Think prevention and enforcement. First, and maybe most critical, is upstream. Contractual controls.
With distributors?
Absolutely. Your agreements need ironclad clauses explicitly banning unauthorized resale, transfer, or export outside their assigned territory. But just having the clause isn't enough.
Use teeth, right.
Exactly. You need tracking mechanisms, maybe serialization, RFID tags, audits, and really significant enforceable penalties. Make the financial risk of diverting product just too high for that distributor.
Okay, lock down the contracts. What's next?
Second, build your legal case before you need it. That means a proactive material differences strategy.
So don't wait for the problem.
Don't wait. Document the differences between your authorized regional products and potential unauthorized ones. Even better, create differences. Maybe it's slightly different packaging, unique software features, access codes for local support.
Like a QR code on the manual that only works for local warranty registration.
Perfect example. That gives you concrete evidence for a trademark infringement claim later. You're building your legal ammunition proactively.
Okay, smart. What about customs? Can you get them involved at all, even if the goods are genuine?
Yes, to some extent. That's the third point. Customs recordation and training. First, register your trademarks with customs authorities in key countries, especially manufacturing hubs or common diversion points.
Standard procedure? Maybe.
But then take the extra step. Educate the customs officers. Show them exactly how to spot your specific gray market goods. Maybe it's a missing compliance sticker for their region, or packaging variations. Give them specific visual cues to look for, something beyond just, is it fake?
Got it. Train them to see the subtle differences.
Fourth, you have to fight where the battle is happening. Online. So rigorous online monitoring and takedown requests are essential.
Using software.
Yet using brand protection tools, often AI-driven, to scan marketplaces constantly, and critically, learn to use the platform's own tools effectively. Things like the Amazon brand registry have specific channels for reporting unauthorized sellers, which is different from reporting counterfeits. Knowing that distinction is key for getting listings removed.
Right, use the platform system against the problem. What about influencing the buyers themselves?
That's number 5. Consumer education. Brands need smart campaigns. Not just scare tactics, but clearly explaining the real risks.
Like the warranty issue.
Exactly. Highlight the lack of a valid warranty, no access to local customer service, potential incompatibility, maybe even safety concerns if regulations differ. Make the consumer understand that the great deal might actually cost them more in the long run if something goes wrong. Shift their perception of value.
Okay, education. What if none of that works? The seller keeps popping up.
Then sometimes you need the legal muscle. That's the 6th strategy. Cease and desist letters and formal legal action.
Lawsuits.
Sometimes, yes. Targeted trademark infringement lawsuits can be very effective, especially against those persistent businesses that specialize in this kind of arbitrage. You use the evidence you've gathered, the contract breach, the material differences to make a strong case and hopefully deter them and others.
It really sounds like a multi-front war. Contracts, product design, customs, online monitoring, consumers, legal.
It has to be.
And underpinning all of this, I assume, is having your basic trademark strategy sorted globally.
Absolutely fundamental. You need trademarks registered not just where you sell, but critically where you make things and where diversion is likely to happen. That gives you the strongest legal standing to control imports and exports right at the source. Control the source, you have a much better chance of controlling the gray market flow.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be that gray market goods are this really tricky middle ground.
They really are. They complicate IP protection enormously because they blur the lines. They undermine the brand's promises, their control, and ultimately, yeah, they can erode consumer trust when someone gets a genuine product that just doesn't come with the expected support or features.
So mitigating it isn't about one silver bullet. It's this integrated mix. Strong IP management up front, really tight contracts, watching the online space like a hawk, educating your customers, and being ready to take legal action when needed.
That's the playbook. It's a constant, ongoing effort, especially for global brands.
Right. But here's a final thought I want to leave everyone with, kind of looking forward. If the core problem is telling an authorized sale from an unauthorized one, even when the product itself is real, how does technology need to evolve beyond just, better marketplace reporting tools?
Good question.
Could things like blockchain or maybe more sophisticated traceability tech finally give consumers absolute rock-solid proof that the genuine item they bought also came through the genuine channel? Is that the next frontier, maybe, closing this loophole for good?
That's certainly the hope for many brands. Verifiable channel authenticity, that could be a game changer if it becomes widespread and trusted. Definitely something to watch.